Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Stevens, and I'm presenting my peer evaluated project for Module 6, Course 2. This is my agenda. Is there a problem? Yes. Law firms are trying to maintain competitive advantages by automating legal predictive analyses to predict future legal outcomes and legal judgments to win in court. The problem is that, the machine learning models, those training sets, may contain personal data, and these training sets are this data is being collected and used to train these models without notice without consent from the individuals to whom that information pertains. I do believe that machine learning can solve it. I believe that law firms can continue to use these machine learning modules to conduct those predictive analyses of future legal outcomes, but they have to incorporate privacy controls, protect the rights and freedoms of others. Clients care, you and I care how our information is being used with and without consent, and law firms care because, again, they don't want to face stiff regulatory fines and penalties, and also they want to make sure that they can continue using these models to do these predictions. Now, the targeted user is going to be the chief operating officers of law firms, and at a lower level, practice group leads. The you can see in my problem statement, it pretty much just says that law firms must incorporate a process. I'm proposing a model that allows them to assess these training sets for personal data so that they can implement the appropriate privacy controls, protect the rights and freedoms of others, noticing consent. Again, a lot of law firms are using it for this purpose, supervisory classification models. I've listed some models here that are in use. Again, my model will probably use also supervisory learning modules, classification, and also may incorporate a large language model, natural language processing. And so the issue is, the law firms have to be more diligent in assessing these training sets before they're used to train these models with a purpose of predicting legal outcomes, legal judgments in the future that might adversely impact individuals. How do I quantify success? I want to see an increase in the amount of training sets that are reviewed for personal data so that data can either be synthesized or it can be anonymized so as not to place individuals at risk. What are the outcomes I want? I want to see a reduction in those training sets that have not undergone a rigorous process of reviewing them for personal data. Outputs, MSC, other predictions, uh, 30% reduction in legal actions taken against law firms for unauthorized use of personal data used to train these models, used to, you know, predict future outcomes and future um, judge decisions that might adversely impact an individual. I'm going to gather that information from clients, attorneys, legal SMEs, legal professional staff, academics, and of the like. These are some of the factors that I've listed and identified: case details, historical case outcomes. Most of this data will come from historical data, case precedents, judicial rulings, uh, jury selections, and things of the like. I said it was historical, so we'll be looking at court records, legal documents, public records that are available. Most of this data will come from these proprietary legal databases, Westlaw and the like. I've got my labels here, as you can see: personal data, sensitive personal data. I won't read the list to you, but that's how we're going to label the data. And then later we'll be creating features based on, those labels. Again, looking at personal data, sensitive personal data, um, special categories of data that'll be incorporated into the training, validation, and the test data sets. Let's get that slide. So, I want to develop this machine learning model that, identifies personal data and training sets so that the training sets themselves, data sets are more accurate, don't pose risk to individuals. We can implement more effective risk management strategies to be able to walk that balance between using this information to achieve the desired state of being able to more accurately use data to be able to predict future outcomes and when in court represent our clients. I'm not an attorney, but I do work for a law firm. And then ensure that at the same time that we're compliant in our collection and use of that data so that we don't run afoul of some regulator. What are my experiments? Well, I'm going to use training data, validation data, and testing data, 60, 20, and 20% of that overall data set. I'm going to use cross validation, K-fold. I'll have to make a determination later where I use five-fold or tenfold to ensure the model doesn't overfit. I selected cloud, off learning, and batch predictions. Again, cloud because of the sheer amount of data that we're going to be processing through the model. I'm not concerned with latency, and we'll have the appropriate privacy and security controls in place to um, allay any fears that the information might be used. We're going to use offline learning. Again, we'll do it on a fixed time schedule to train and retrain the models, probably on a weekly basis. And again, it's easier for us to assess the effectiveness of the model and implement it in production and technologies. We're also going to use batch prediction so that we can monitor the model over time for any types of drift. It allows us, because we're going to have a lot of data, to process that data more efficiently. What are some of the things we're looking at? Post-production or a risk or model drift. Specifically, we're looking at data drift. For the natural language processing, we'll be looking at, if, especially if we incorporate a Gen AI into the overall application, we'll be looking at hallucinations. Always a concern, data quality and bias, especially from a privacy perspective. We want to make sure that we're identifying this data, personal data, upstream so that downstream it doesn't become disenfranchised. Marginal groups and others that may be marginalized because of the outcomes obtained by the model. Explainability and interpretability are going to be concerns, as well as training serving skew. I listed my references. Again, I pulled this information from a number of resources. I just wanted to make you aware that I did so. At this time, my name is Chris Stevens, and I want to thank you for your time. I hope you, your family members, and significant others enjoy a wonderful rest of 2024.